Everyone thought he was an F-ranked adventurer, but he finds a golden servant card which summons an SS-rank goddess who helps him become the strongest. Kai is a young man who decides to become an adventurer in hopes of earning gold and glory. However, luck is not on his side, as despite working tirelessly every day for the past 2 years, he is still stuck on the first floor of the dungeon. Just like any other day, Kai heads to the caves and begins creeping slowly towards a slime on the ground. But instead of reaching for a sword or knife, he pulls out an insecticide and sprays 2 bottles at the slime until it withers away and dies. He feels a surge of happiness at how adept he has become at killing slimes. It is expected, considering this is his 999th slime kill since he started working in these dungeons like an NPC. Determined to reach the 1000 slime mark, Kai ventures deeper into the dungeon. Suddenly, he notices a golden slime sitting on a pillar. Excited by his luck at finding such a rare spawn for his 1000th kill, he quickly realizes this one isn't going to be easy. As he attempts to spray it with his bottle, the slime simply jumps off the pillar. Undeterred, Kai grabs a new and more powerful spray gun filled with pesticide and shoots at the slime, successfully killing it. He celebrates his 1000th kill and eagerly opens up his stats to check his rank, only to realize his level remained the same even though he killed a golden slime. He decides to let it go, hoping to get some good loot at least, but instead of a normal monocore, he finds a small golden card with a girl drawn on it. At first it confuses him, but soon he realizes that this is a servant card, which is a very rare item. He checks the stats to realize that this servant is from the class of Valkyries and is named Sylph. He tries to hit her on Instagram, but finds out that there is no info about her online. He decides to get out of the dungeon first before researching anymore and starts heading back, while a group of adventurers walk past him with their amazing armor, which Kai can only look at with jealousy. He wonders whether he would ever be able to buy such a thing and heads over to the reception to get money in exchange for the slime cores. The receptionist, Hitsa, gives him 500 yen for each slime core, so 1500 yen in total, which is a disappointing amount. But Kai takes it and starts moving out. He suddenly stops and asks Hitsa whether she knows the value of a rare servant card, especially if the servant belongs to a divine class. Hitsa thinks for a while and claims that such a card would be very collectible and will be worth over 1 billion yen easily. He is shocked to hear that, but keeps his mouth shut as he returns back towards his locker, where he puts his stuff back before changing into everyday clothing and exits the area. It turns out that the dungeon is part of an amusement park where people can get membership and go inside to explore and find valuable items. Several children walk around in costumes talking about how they want to be an explorer once they grow up. But Kai is completely lost in his thoughts, still thinking about the card. While waiting for the train, he ends up meeting with his 2 friends Shinji and Hayato, and they all get onto a train. Kai tells them that he is still stuck at level 3 and asks them why they don't explore any dungeons. Hayato replies that 2 years ago, when they newly went to explore the dungeons, they ended up hitting the 2nd floor, where they found a goblin. They thought it would be easy prey for them, but the goblin ended up beating the shit out of all of them alone. Ever since then, both Shinji and Hayato decided that dungeons are not for them, and they are happier exploring the other attractions with their passes. Later that night, Kai exits the train and starts walking back towards his home, where he has dinner with his family and takes a bath before heading off to sleep. The next morning, he still wonders whether he should sell the card or not, as 1 billion yen can get him all the armor he wants, and he can buy as many video games as he wants. His thoughts are broken by a voice which turns out to be his friend Katsu, who asks where he was last night. He decides to lie and claims that he was at a party with Shinji and Hayato, but to his dismay, both of them end up spotting Kai and walk over. Kai immediately takes them aside and begs them to not tell Katsu that he went dungeon crawling yesterday, and they agree, but when Katsu asks them what they did at the party, they ended up saying different things like crack, hookers, and bowling. Katsu realizes that they are lying and asks whether Kai went to the dungeons once again, but he manages to lie through his teeth and barely escapes. Later that day in school, he asks what his friends would have done with a servant card, and they immediately reply that they would have sold it, as it's worth a lot, and you can't summon a servant outside of the dungeons anyways. Kai thinks about whether he should sell the item, but when he goes to the dungeons that day, he decides to keep it for himself, as he wants to become one of the strongest adventurers that anyone has ever seen. He hides away from the camera and takes out the card before calling out Sylphie, the Valkyrie, to be her servant and follow her command. Suddenly, the card starts glowing and a bright light emits from it, which transforms into a huge woman with feathery wings on her back and basketballs in the front. She seems to be in an ethereal form as she grabs Kai and disappears immediately. Kai is confused at what's happening, when suddenly he turns around to see a small loli in armor standing beside him. He asks who she is, wondering if any kids got lost here, but the loli replies that she is the Valkyrie Sylphie who will be his servant from now. Immediately, all his hopes of becoming a strong adventurer shatter as he drops to the floor, regretting the fact that he didn't sell the card. He decides to pull his act together as he gets up and tells her that they need to hunt some slime. She immediately claims that she can sense some nearby, so Kai decides to test her intuition and tells her to lead him to the beast. Sylphie easily locates the slime, so Kai asks whether she can kill it for him, and she immediately agrees before going out in the open. Kai wasn't expecting much from such a small girl, but to his surprise, Sylphie conjures a lightning attack so devastating that for a moment Kai thought that the whole cave would collapse. Kai walks towards her, asking whether she is alright, but she starts blushing and claims that she is hungry and wants to eat something. Kai looks at her and remembers that the servants eat monocores, so he feeds the monocore of the slime to her, and she thanks him before claiming that there are some more slimes nearby. He asks whether she has regained her strength, to which she nods her head before heading off. But Kai stops her and asks whether she can only detect slimes. Sylphie immediately claims that she can detect all the monsters and not just slimes, but after every battle she feels hungry and needs to eat a monocore. Kai does the calculation and realizes that it will be useless this way as they won't earn anything out of hunting slimes. He comes up with a plan and tells Sylphie to track the slimes down for him, which she happily does, after which he uses his spray bottles to kill them one after the other. This seems to be the best way of operating, as finding slimes is a task in itself. But this way, he can save his time by directly heading towards the targets and neutralizing them with his cheap insecticide sprays. After killing a bunch of them, he ends up leveling up to level 4 and gains a new passive skill called the Slime Slayer, which gives him 50% increased stats when fighting against slimes. He seems disappointed with his new skill, but Sylphie raises his spirits by claiming that getting a skill is an achievement in itself. He looks at her and smiles, thanking her for the help, and claims that he will be returning home now as it's getting late. Sylphie looks at him and asks whether he will summon her soon again, and he promises to summon her as soon as possible, after which he recalls her back to her servant card. He starts heading back and stops at the reception to sell the manacores, which shocks Hitsu as she claims that he beat the daily slime extermination record by a large margin and asks how he do it. Kai lies and tells her that he just got lucky and takes his 15,000 yen reward before heading home. Later at night, he thinks about heading over to the second level of the dungeon, as even though goblins are scary, he believes that Sylphie is much stronger, and with her he can defeat them. That night, he dreams about a childhood memory where he sat in front of the TV with Katsu, while the reporter interviewed Katsu's dad, who was a famous adventurer. And that interview fills Kai with a feeling of amazement as he decides to follow in the same footsteps and become an adventurer himself. The next morning, he wakes up with a newfound conviction and confidence as he heads out to the second floor alongside Sylphie and the new sword and shield he bought with his money. He makes up his mind that he will keep clearing all the dungeons on his way to becoming the most famous adventurer in the world. They enter the cave and walk for a while when Sylphie realizes that something is wrong and asks Kai whether everything is okay, as he is looking very pale and is shaking really badly. Kai looks terrified of this cave, but lies to Sylphie that he is just very excited. But the moment Sylphie tells him that she can sense a goblin nearby, he immediately turns around and starts running. Sylphie is confused and asks what the hell is he doing, but Kai lies to her face, claiming that he has some urgent work back at home. He suddenly remembers Katsu's dad in the TV interview and stops, as he decides that he can't forget his dreams so easily, and grabs his wooden sword before telling Sylphie to lead the way. They soon find the goblin, sleeping behind a giant rock, but Kai is too scared to do anything, so he asks whether Sylphie could kill it. She immediately agrees and heads out to chant her spell as the goblin wakes up ready to fight, but they are interrupted by Kai, who jumps in between with his sword and tells Sylphie that he changed his mind, but tells her to be ready to help him. He rushes towards the goblin but misses his sword strike as the goblin backs off. This time the goblin attacks and tries to ram Kai to the ground, but he blocks the hit with his shield at the last moment. They struggle for a while, but Kai slowly gains ground and shoves the goblin away as it falls to the ground. Kai immediately tries to take advantage of that and rushes in with his sword, but even this time his sword strike is blocked by the goblin, who grabs it and disarms Kai before jumping at him to finish the job. Kai falls backwards without any defenses, but remembers that he still has the sprays, so he quickly takes them out and shoots the spray at the monster's eyes. The goblin gets blinded by it, which gives Kai the chance to land the final blow, but as he gets the sword and rushes towards the goblin, he ends up tripping over a rock and falls to the floor and accidentally stabs him in the chest, killing the beast immediately. Sylphie seems very happy as he congratulates Kai, but he is still too scared as he grabs the mana crystal, glad to be alive. Suddenly, a golden glow emits from him, and he realizes that he has leveled up again. He checks the stats once again and finds out that he has gotten a new skill called the Goblin Slayer. He again has mixed feelings about such a shitty new skill, but decides that a skill is a skill and moves on. They go deeper in the cave where another goblin attacks them, but Sylphie uses her defensive barrier to block the attacks completely, while Kai times his sword slash perfectly to kill the monster. Kai then kills his third goblin by using the spray bottle once again to blind the monster before killing it, while Sylphie drags him once again to a new foe. Kai kills this goblin as well with a sword strike to the head, and in the process, ends up ranking up to level 6. They start walking once again and Kai asks whether she knows anything about these dungeons, but Sylphie replies that she has no idea, and all she knows is that her sole purpose is to help her master. They move further inside where they find their final goblin of the day who attacks Kai, while Sylphie uses her lightning magic to destroy the beast. Kai feeds her the mana core before heading outside. He hands over the mana crystals to Hitsu. He again lies that it was simply a fluke and heads back home, where his body finally gets so sore that he is unable to move from his bed. The next morning, he drags his ass to walk to the school alongside Katsu, who immediately realizes that he must have gone to the dungeons, but he refuses and claims that he was just doing some bodybuilding in the gym, and that's why he is sore. Katsu decides to let it go and starts walking once again. After reaching their classroom, Kai ends up telling Shinji and Hayato about his new adventures into the level 2 dungeons, and also that he killed 4 goblins. They are surprised to hear it, and are having trouble believing that Kai is telling the truth. But he promises them that he is not lying and claims that he is going to go even deeper today. After school, he goes back to the dungeons alongside Sylphie and starts exploring the distant parts of the cave where they managed to kill goblins once again with beautiful teamwork, as Sylphie blocked the attacks while Kai landed the killing blow. And sometimes when Kai got too tired, Sylphie finished the monster with her lightning magic. After that expedition, he again slept like a log at night and the next day upgraded to a metal rod, which did much more damage to the goblins. But because of exhaustion, he ended up sleeping even in the classroom. This didn't stop him from his adventures, however, as without fail he went into the dungeons, day after day, killing goblins with any means necessary, till he reached level 10, which was a big milestone for him. This time he gets a special skill called Divine Love, which boosted his stat growth at every level. The boost directly depended on the amount of love and care a divine goddess showed him, so he immediately decides to confess how happy he is to be able to go on adventures with someone as cool as Sylphie. The poor lowly doesn't understand how big of a psycho manipulator this guy is and happily thanks him for being with him, as she loves working alongside him. After that, the next monster they see turns out to be a glowing skeleton, which they have never faced before. Kai tells her to stay alert, and she immediately deploys her magic barrier as the skeletons rushed at them to attack. He crashes against the barrier and starts trying to break through, but before he could do that, Kai decides to attack. Unfortunately, his attack does nothing, as his weapons are too weak for this rare spawn, so he asks Sylphie to deal with it, who immediately chants her spell and shoots a lightning bolt at it, killing it at once. This time, the mana core that gets dropped turns out to be bright red in color. He wonders whether it could be rare, but decides to feed it to Sylphie anyway, who claims that it was more tasty than usual. Later that day, when he goes to Hitsu with a day's loot, he asks about the mana core dropped by the glowing skeleton, and she replies that it's a pretty rare drop and can easily fetch upwards of 2 million yen. Kai is devastated to hear that he could have been a millionaire, but Sylphie ended up eating his money. Hitsu tells him not to worry though, as if he encountered it once, there are good chances that he will meet it again. That night he wonders about the lost money, but decides that it doesn't matter as he still leveled up a bunch. This makes him wonder whether he can move on to the 3rd floor now. But he knows that on the 3rd floor, the enemies appear I groups and can be much more dangerous. Keeping this in mind, the next day he tells Sylphie that for a while he wants Sylphie to simply watch and not do anything else. She gets scared thinking that she did something wrong and apologizes, but Kai claims that he wants to go up to the 3rd floor, but he is scared that he will end up depending too much on her to save him, so he wants to get stronger first. Sylphie seems relieved to hear that and bids him good luck, when suddenly a goblin appears from behind a rock. Kai confidently tells Sylphie to watch from behind as he deals with it. But the plan backfires and he ends up getting injured pretty badly, forcing him to buy potions from Hitsu, which blows away all his savings. That night he thinks about how he needs a lot of mana cores to feed Sylphie as well as better equipment, so he decides to go back to square one and enters the first floor once again to kill as many slimes as possible, gaining skills, levels, and mana cores. After several days of working his ass off in the dungeons alone, he finally is able to collect enough mana cores that he feels comfortable to move on to the third floor. Before they could leave the cave though, Sylphie claims that she can sense a different kind of slime, and her intuition seems on point as Kai notices a silver slime not far away. He immediately jumps into action and rushes the slime with his spray gun, but the slime is faster and dodges away. Thankfully, Sylphie was ready nearby and uses her lightning magic to hit the slime, immediately killing it. To their surprise, the slime ends up dropping another servant card, which is beyond lucky. Kai picks up the card to see that it is a demon rank card for a servant named Luce. He looks around to see Sylphie, who looked visibly upset to see the card, as he realizes that demons and goddesses must not go well together. But even after that, he decides to follow his own wishes, without even consulting with Sylphie, and summons the demon servant right there. A huge red flame envelops them completely, from which a huge demon lady emerges and flies straight through Kai in her ethereal form, just like what happened with Sylphie. He looks down once again and spots another lowly, but this time she has bat wings and horns on her head, realizing that now his party will be unstoppable with a demon and goddess on her side. The lowly looks at him and introduces herself as the demon Viscount Luke. Before asking Kai whether he is the one who called her, Kai asks whether she can transform into a grown woman, but she can't, which really disappoints him as he falls to his knees sad, because he always wanted a demon mommy. Regardless, he gets up and introduces himself, but Luke immediately starts trash-talking him as she thinks he looks very weak and unreliable. Kai is completely shocked at this, while Syl hides behind him and with a meek voice tells Luke that she shouldn't talk to her master like that. Luke tells her that all demons have very sharp tongues, so don't take anything she says very seriously. This makes Syl feel better as she introduces herself to the little demon. Luke inspects her from all around, immediately recognizing her as a goddess-class servant. Immediately after, she turns towards Kai and asks him for food as she is hungry. Kai tells her that she hasn't even done anything yet. How can she be hungry? But just then Syl senses a slime nearby and informs them about it. They hide behind a rock to check whether it's a normal slime, but Luke doesn't have their caution as she walks out brazenly and summons a trident in her hand. She then creates a fireball and shoots it at the slime, which causes a huge explosion while Syl and Kai watch in awe. Kai walks up and feeds her the mana crystal, but she immediately asks for another one. Kai tells her that he doesn't have another, which annoys Luke as she claims that she doesn't like cheapskates. Kai tells her to show him another skill of her, and promises to feed her a mana crystal for it. She sighs, but finds a goblin running towards her, so she uses her decay magic on it, which completely destroys the goblin as it immediately starts rotting and falls to the ground with a sickening plop, making both Syl and Kai sick. Kai feeds her another crystal, which she really likes and immediately wants to go even deeper to hunt more monsters. Kai stops her and asks whether she knows anything about these dungeons, but she replies that she has no idea about anything in this world. He tells her that at the third level, the monsters start attacking in groups, and to deal with that, they need better equipment. She doesn't seem to care much about it and still wants to go deeper, but Kai tells her that they will go on that level the next day. She still doesn't seem very keen on waiting for the next day, but somehow Kai and Syl manage to convince her, and she agrees to not wander any deeper in the cave today. The next morning, they enter the third level of the dungeons, which is very scary for Kai, but he is confident in the abilities of his servants and has also bought some new equipment like a crossbow. Syl claims that the crossbow looks really nice, and Kai seems pleased with it as he claims that it was pretty expensive. Suddenly they hear a growl and spot two hellhounds around the corner looking for prey. Kai decides to take the first shot after coming out from the cover, but the bolt misses the monsters and they immediately start running towards him at full speed. He tries to reload his crossbow, but it's too late as the hounds are almost on top of him. Thankfully, Syl comes to his defense and creates a barrier that blocks the attack, while Luke comes out of the cover with her flaming trident in hand and shoots a fire blast at the hounds, blowing them up to pieces. After that, Kai feeds her a mana crystal, while she asks for another one. Kai tells her to wait as he can't feed her all the mana crystals, so they start venturing deeper in the cave. Soon they come upon demonic boars running towards them at full speed, but Luke is ready as usual, and with a single flick of her trident, she completely blows the boars up. Unfortunately, one of the boars ends up dodging the attack and runs out of the fire at full speed. Luke gets ready to land another attack, but Kai tells her that he will deal with it and takes aim. This time when he shoots, the bolt actually hits the mark and blinds the boar in one eye. But this is nowhere enough to defeat the demonic boar, who gets even more mad and runs at Kai to get his vengeance. Cal tries to reload his crossbow, but ends up tripping over to the floor, but before the boar could attack him, he manages to shoot another shot, which hits the boar right in the head, killing it immediately, just inches away from Kai. Syl praises him for his first kill on this floor, and the fact that he became level 11 now, while Luke makes fun of him for falling over and then asks for more mana crystals. After leaving the dungeons for the day, he starts walking out, when he overhears some girls talking about how they reached level 6 dungeons because they made a party instead of going solo. This makes him wonder the next day at school whether he would also grow much faster if he had a party. That day he goes over to the dungeons, and as usual Luke is in full swing using her fire blast to demolish any monsters that would come in her way, while this time even Syl shows her lightning magic to stun the demonic boar to death. Luke doesn't want anyone to outdo her, so she immediately uses her decay spell to kill 2 more rat monsters, which makes both Syl and Kai's stomachs upset. But they get their share of mana crystals while Luke asks for more food as expected. They keep killing even more monsters, after which they get their rewards of mana cores. But Kai notices that Syl seems a little off. He asks if everything is fine, but she immediately changes the topic by claiming that she saw some more hellhounds nearby. That evening after Kai was back at home, he wonders whether Syl is avoiding him for some reason when the thought comes to his mind that maybe because Syl is a goddess and Luke is a demon, they are not compatible, and he wonders what he will do if they both come to blows and decide to use their godly abilities against each other. This really scares the shit out of him, and he is unable to sleep that night, sick with worry. The next morning, while walking towards the school, Katsu meets up with him and asks whether he got any sleep last night. She tells him that if he is worried about something, maybe she can help him. This really touches his heart as he decides to use his friends as a scapegoat and claims that Shinji has 2 female friends. One of them is very sweet and nice, and the other one is a bit harsh. They don't seem to get along together, and he is worried that they will end up fighting. Katsu looks confused but asks whether the girls told him that they don't like each other, and if not, she suggests him to ask them directly. This is what Kai decides to do that day, as he only summons Syl in the caves, who looks around and asks where Luke is. Kai tells her that he hasn't summoned her as he wanted to have a one-on-one conversation with her. Syl looks a bit flustered, but asks what is it about. So Kai decides to cut to the chase and asks whether she doesn't like Luke. Surprisingly enough, Syl tells him that's not the case, as she did find him a little intimidating at first. But when she told her not to take her words seriously, she ended up becoming her friend, and now she actually likes her a lot. Kai gets into her face and asks whether anything is bothering her. She shakes her head, claiming that nothing is bothering her, but Kai persists, claiming that she seems bothered by something and tells her that she is very important to him. This makes Syl a little emotional, and she tells him that lately he has been treating Luke much more nicely than her, and she wants to be treated the same way. Kai doesn't think that he has been treating them any different, but Syl claims that he is very nice to her, always talks a lot, and even gives her extra mana cores. She claims that before Luke came, he used to talk to her a lot, but nowadays he mostly talks to Luke and not her. Kai realizes his fault and promises to treat her equally and talk to her more. Later, he proves that he is a man of his word as he gives both Luke and Syl double mana cores and even praises Syl for her quick thinking that saved his life. This time Luke calls him out, claiming that he hasn't praised her this way, so he ends up praising her for the strong spell she used to kill the monsters. They soon move forward and Syl manages to kill some more hell monsters, which makes her gain a level. Both Kai and Luke congratulate her, and Kai decides to test her newfound stranglet. They go further into the cave where they find 3 hellhounds in a distance. Syl immediately goes out and uses her lightning spell to completely demolish all 3 of the hounds together. But while they were celebrating, Kai senses something and tells Syl to get her shield up. Immediately a monster boar comes out of the dust and starts attacking the shield, but the level 2 shield is way too tough for him. Meanwhile, Luke takes out her trident to finish the job, but Kai tells her that he wants to handle it, and he shoots the boar in the head, killing it immediately. After that, he feeds the mana cores to Syl, whose appetite has grown, and because of that he is barely able to sell any cores. He decides to head back to the level 1 dungeons to collect some cores with his spray, which surprises Hitsa when he comes to sell it. She tells him that according to her he can climb up to the level 4 dungeons now, which surprises Kai. That night he checks the net for better equipment, but everything is too expensive for him, so he decides to head back into the dungeons the next day. While walking through the level 1 caves, he suddenly spots a rare slime once again and tells the two lowlies to not let it escape. Both Luke and Sil surround the monster before using their spells together, completely obliterating any signs of the slime's existence. This time the slime ended up dropping a magic crystal. Kai happily picks it up and decides to use it, so he throws it to the ground and immediately ends up gaining a new magical skill called Water Strike. He decides to go and try this on the level 3 dungeons where he finds a pack of hounds. He tells Sil to create a barrier while Luke stays ready to kill the monster if it survives Kai's attack. The hound spots the party and immediately starts charging at them, so Kai stands his ground and shoots a water blast at him. To his absolute surprise, the water ball doesn't even scratch the hound as it shakes the water off and charges at them again. But thankfully Luke deals with it through her fire magic. Sil tries to cheer Kai up as she tells him that using magic is an achievement in itself. But Kai doesn't seem to be thrilled with his power and decides to head back home and think about how he can better use his newfound magic to defeat the monsters. The next day, Kai goes to the dungeon again to practice his water ball spell. He first shoots a water ball at the wall at a very slow pace, and it doesn't do anything other than wet the wall. Kai is already exhausted by using the spell just once, but he keeps on practicing. The second time, he shoots the water ball as fast as he can. He and Sil are happy about the accomplishment, but Luke is not impressed. In using just 2 water balls, Kai loses all his energy and collapses to the ground. He soon returns home and falls asleep as soon as he lies on the bed. In his sleep, Kai sees a dream of his childhood where he is watching Katsu's dad on TV, and how that made him dream of becoming an adventurer like him. Motivated by his dream, he goes to the dungeon the next day and begins practicing water ball strikes again. He has gotten remarkably faster today, and he shoots many water balls at the walls of the dungeon before finally running out of gas. He takes a short rest, but just as he recovers his stamina, he gets back to training. This time, he tries manipulating the shape of the water ball and turns it into a cube. Thrilled by his success, Kai keeps experimenting and giving different shapes to the water ball, but he soon gets tired and falls on his back. As he is walking out of the dungeon mindlessly, he trips and falls into the arms of an adventurer. He immediately gets back and apologizes, but the mature mommy adventurer asks him if he is fine. Kai says that he is perfectly good and takes his leave with that. But the mommy is worried about him because he doesn't look okay. Her teammates, however, are quite eager to see that there are people who work so hard, and they head into the dungeon. Later, Kai sleeps in the class, and when the teacher wakes him up, he loudly says that he will do his best in training today, causing the entire class to burst into laughter. During the break, his friends approach him and ask what was he saying about the training earlier. Kai tells them that he is practicing a vital skill for his success in the dungeon. But just then, Katsu comes there. She asks if he is training to enter the dungeon, but Kai twists his words and says that he was talking about dance practice. Katsu is relieved on learning that, and she just asks Kai not to overdo it. She asks him to show her his dance performance one day and then leaves the boys alone. The next day, Kai goes to the dungeon again and uses his water ball in actual combat. He shoots a goblin with it, but instead of bursting like usual, the water ball stays firm in shape and blocks all the breathing holes of the goblin, choking him to death. Both Sil and Luke praise him, but then Kai notices that he is not getting any exp from the monsters on the 3rd floor anymore, which means it is time for them to descend to the 4th floor. Kai thinks that since he is going to the 4th floor, he needs some good equipment, and he decides to buy something that had been in his wish list for a long time. The next day, he comes wearing a tight bodysuit, and while Sil says that it looks good on him, Luke shatters his pride by telling him that he looks lame. Kai tells her that the suit is expensive and high-end because it is made of carbon nanotubes that protects him from most of the damage while being thin and lightweight. He says that the bodysuit has excellent protection against arrows and other piercing damage. Along with that, he has a magic output amplifying bracelet that will make even his weak spells a bit more powerful. However, he has not tried it out because there was no option for that. Kai begins showing other items he has bought like a potion, but Luke drags Sil away because she is getting bored of Kai's display. They head to the 4th floor eventually, where Sil detects a large and creepy monster coming towards them. Before Kai can check the monster encyclopedia to see what is he going to face here, a giant cockroach comes there, and both the girls panic and cling to each other. They blast out magic spells constantly at the roach monster as they rush through the dungeon, and Kai runs after them because he is afraid of being left alone. Sil and Luke are resting after exerting themselves and almost attack Kai, who comes running towards them. Sil runs to hug Kai, telling him that she was afraid, but Luke is still putting on her tsundere act and saying that she was not afraid of the lowly bugs. Sil then apologizes to Kai for abandoning him and running away, and pleads with him to scold her. He replies that he is not angry because they cleared the 4th floor in no time because of their rampage, and he has collected the mana cores from all the defeated monsters. Luke says that she is not eating those disgusting crystals obtained from bugs, but she is too hungry to refuse them. The crystals taste as awful as the girls were expecting. And then Kai says that since they have time, they should scout out the 5th floor a bit. Sil senses a sand monster and a mud monster nearby, and Kai takes aim at them with his crossbow. His first arrow misses, and the second one goes right through the sand monster, who immediately attacks him. Kai yells Sil's name, and she promptly sets up a barrier to protect him. Kai believes that the two monsters are immune to physical attacks, so he turns to Luke for help, and she annihilates them with her fire attack. Kai asks her if she needs to replenish her mana with the crystals, but neither Luke nor Sil want to eat the disgusting thing. They keep exploring the 5th floor, but there seem to be no more monsters nearby. Just then, Sil spots an odd spot on a wall, but Kai can find nothing special about it. Sil decides to blast a hole in the wall using her lightning attack, and surprisingly, it leads them to a secret passageway. They begin heading in, and Kai advises the girls to be careful to not step on any traps. But just as he was saying this, Luke tells him that it is too late for the warning. She is trapped on a trap trigger, and an arrow is shot as a result. However, instead of going towards Luke, it hits Kai instead, and he rolls on the ground, writhing with pain. His servants are worried about him, but Kai returns to normal in a few minutes because his bodysuit protected him from any serious damage. They keep walking ahead, but Luke steps on yet another trap tile. Kai steps backwards to avoid the arrow this time, but gets Pikachu'd instead. However, he is completely fine after the shock, and even feels a bit energized. Luke tells him to stop making her worry, but when Kai asks if she was worried about him, she defaults to her tsundere mode. Soon, they reach a huge gate with a painting on it, and Sil can feel an overwhelming presence from the other side. Kai decides to head home, but the two girls are not going to let him do that. He tries opening the gate, but it doesn't budge, so Sil just blasts it with her lightning attack, and Kai sincerely hopes that he is not charged with destruction of dungeon property. Anyway, they head inside and encounter two boss-class monsters. One is a red ogre, and another is a giant slime. Kai is not going to back away when they have come this far, and he tells his girls to take down the red ogre first. They shoot their lightning and fire attacks at the ogre, but it is virtually unscathed because it is immune to skill damage. He suddenly lunges towards them, but Sil's barrier skill blocks his attack. Kai tells Luke to handle the slime, and then tries hitting the red ogre with his crossbow. Each arrow he shoots at the ogre significantly reduces its health, but then he runs out of arrows. The enraged ogre starts thrashing the barrier, and on the other hand, Luke is also having a hard time dealing with the giant slime alone. As a last-ditch effort, Kai decides to rely on his water ball. He manifests a water ball, but it freezes because of the effect of the bracelet. He shoots the ice ball at the red ogre and whittles down its defense, but he then realizes that he will soon run out of mana. So Kai manipulates the shape of his ice balls and turns them into sharp icicles that deal much more damage to the red ogre. With the last 3 shots he had left, Kai manages to bring down the red ogre, and now only the slime is left. The slime is about to hit Luke, when Kai defends her with his shield. He holds the slime back and asks Sil to prepare her divine spear attack. His shield and gear starts to melt, but then Sil charges at the slime with her divine spear and pierces through it. However, even that doesn't do much damage to the monster. Kai wants to give up, but remembering his hero, he charges ahead, dodging the slime's attacks, and then uses his good old bug spray, because even though it is giant, the monster is still a slime. The slime's health constantly decreases, and Sil guards Kai using her magic barrier. After Kai runs out of the first 2 bottles, he pulls out 2 extra strong bug sprays from his bag and lets it all out on the slime. That finally hits 0 GP and dies. The girls happily hug Kai, but hurt his injured shoulder in the process that he fixes by drinking the potion. Luke also levels up just after that, and then Kai checks out his stats to find that he has also leveled up a lot. He quickly moves to collecting the mana cores and finds the red core of the ogre, which will surely fetch a good price. When he tries searching for the slime's core, he finds a rare grade magic sword instead, which looks more like a steak knife than a magic sword. Later, Kai takes them on a core of the Red Ogre to Hitsa, who is curious about where he found it. He tells her the story about finding a hidden dungeon on the 5th floor and defeating the boss there. Hitsa tells him that they will immediately check the dungeon out, and then tells Kai that the red mana core is worth a lot of money. He is happy to hear that, and then Hitsa gives him another good news, asking him to join the event next week, where they will be trying to clear the 7th floor as a group. The next week, he goes to the event, where he runs into the 3 girls from the other day. Their leader introduces herself as Eri, the pink cat girl is Miku, and the last one is Hikari. Kai also introduces himself, and wonders if they are going to be members of the same party. Soon, they join the line of all the participants who are heading out to the 7th floor. Kai is paired up with Eri and her group, and they hold hands as they prepare to be teleported to the 7th floor. A magic circle appears beneath their feet, and they instantly reach the 7th floor. Kai tells the girls that he was really nervous just now, because it is only his second time using the transfer gate, which he used to return to the surface the last time. As they keep moving ahead, the girls inform him that it is their first time too. An employee at the Adventure Association points them to the direction they have to take, and they find a convenience store for the hunters right in front of them. Kai buys a lot of stuff, and as he is putting it all in his backpack, he asks the girls if they don't have to buy anything. Eri shows him a small bag she is carrying, and Kai recognizes it as a magic pouch that costs as much as a 2 BHK flat in New York. The girls tell him that their parents bought the magic pouches for them, and Kai realizes that they are from rich families. With that, they are ready to enter the 7th floor, where the main monsters they can find are golems. Suddenly, they see some people approaching them, and when they get close, they turn out to be a group of people who maintain the dungeon and keep it pristine. After that, Kai reveals that he is at level 16 and asks Eri about her level. She tells him that she is at level 18, and Hikari and Miku are both at level 15. But Hikari has high mana because she is a magic user. Just then, they hear some stones falling, and as they turn around, they see a bunch of floating stones come together to form a golem. Eri immediately takes charge and attacks the golem with her spear. After a few strikes, she manages to defeat it, and Kai is impressed that she didn't even need backup. Just then, a bronze golem comes there, and it is Hikari's time to shine. She uses a spell called Earthwave that immobilizes the golem. Next, Miku summons her servant, which is a wind element weasel that rushes towards the golem and begins shooting it with wind blades. While the golem is distracted, Hikari uses a powerful fireball at it to melt it, and then Eri finishes it. As Kai turns around to praise their girl power, he notices an iron golem behind Hikari and Miku. He tries shooting it with his crossbow, but the golem is too tough. Miku tries shielding Hikari, but Eri comes in front of them and parries the golem's attack. She jumps high and hits the golem with all her strength, but fails to do any damage, and even Hikari's fireball proves useless. Miku commands her servant Snatch to attack, but it is also unable to do anything and gets knocked out by a stray stone. Kai thinks that he should summon his servants now, when suddenly, the magic sword he got from the boss fight drops out of his pocket. He recalls how he was researching about it online and found that the magic sword Baltzard damages the target based on the user's imagination. Kai decides to give this weapon a try before calling Syl and Luke. He asks Hikari to immobilize the golem using Earthwave, and then asks Eri to distract it. Using this chance, he sneaks behind the golem and imagines that he is defeating it with one strike. He stabs the golem with the magic sword, and succeeds in defeating it. The girls are amazed by his strength, but he tells them about the magic sword called Baltzard when they have lunch later. The girls think that he is really cool either way. Kai then asks Miku if her servant Snatch is fine, and she tells him that he is okay. He says that he has never seen a weasel servant like that, and Miku remarks that he must have not seen any servant, because they can't be captured by cameras. Kai realizes that she is right, and he is relieved that the guild staff have not seen Luke and Syl yet. He asks Miku if no one knows about Snatch apart from her friends, but she reveals that her dad bought it at an auction and then they registered it at a guild, so everyone knows about it. After that, Eri asks Kai if he wants to party with them again sometimes, because all the girls are really impressed by him. They tell him that their current goal is to reach the 11th floor, where the second transport gate is located. Kai is unsure about joining them, and he claims that he is just a regular explorer who is suited only to be a background character. The girls tell him that being regular and normal is just fine, and they will be relieved if he is by their side. Eri says that he doesn't have anyone else to party with, but that reminds Kai of Syl and Luke. He nervously explains that he has an angel and demon by his side, and the girls are confused. Kai wonders how will the girls react on seeing him with two lolis, and he fears that they will call the FBI. That is why he can't tell them about his 2 servants up front and requests some time to think about it. The girls understand that he has his reasons, so they tell him to take his time. The next time Kai goes to the dungeon and summons Sil and Luke, he can clearly tell that they are upset with him. He tries talking about joining Aries' party, but Luke mocks him, asking if this is the first thing he wants to talk about after neglecting them. Even Sil says that the 3 of them are enough and they don't need anyone else, and Luke agrees too. Kai tries to explain the details to them, but Sil says that they are done with the discussion, and even Luke refuses to talk about this matter any further. The next day, Kai walks to school with Katsu, who asks him if he was busy with his dance practice this weekend or was he working out. He nervously says that it was a mix of both, and then Katsu says that if he is free the next Saturday, they should go out together. Kai's heart skips a beat as he thinks Katsu is talking about a date, but she tells him that she wants him to join her for shopping. He is happy with that too, and gladly accepts. Soon, Katsu sees her friend and decides to join her, and right at that time, Kai's friends pop up behind him and start calling him a Rizzler. They ask how does he feel to get asked on a date by a girl, and Kai tries to explain that they are just hanging out for shopping. He says that a girl like Katsu won't have any reason to go on a date with someone like him, and his friends sigh as they place their hands on his shoulder. After that, they ask him about the event at the 7th floor and ask if he partied up with some burly old men. Kai tells them that he worked with a party of 3 cute girls who were nearly the same as them. His friends are jealous now, and they decide to think that they should try to enter the dungeon again. The next Saturday, it is time for the promised date, and Kai waits outside Katsu's house to receive her. In the supermarket, they find a TV program where 2 hunters are talking about monster cores, and Kai is instantly attached to the program. Katsu calls him to her, and then asks him to forget about his love for hunters just for today. They walk together, and Katsu looks really happy. She remarks that it has been a long time they went out like this, and Kai recalls that they used to go out a lot when they were kids and Katsu's dad took them to picnics and movies. She suggests that they watch a movie sometimes too, and he happily agrees. After that, she tries on a few dresses, and no matter what she wears, Kai just tells her that she looks cute. After that, they go to the garden, where Kai can't keep his eyes off Katsu. She suddenly notices some boats, and tells him that she wants to ride one. They get on the boat, and as Kai rows it, he thinks that other people might think that they are on a date, but he shakes the thought off because he auto-rejects himself in front of Katsu. She sees him acting strange, and then remarks that he seems to have changed recently. She says that he looks tougher now, and it must be because of the dance and gym sessions. Kai can only keep agreeing with her. Next up, they go to drink coffee and decide to try each other's drinks. Kai drinks Katsu's coffee without any thought, but she gets a bit flustered as she thinks of it as an indirect kiss. Later, they are ready to return home, but as Katsu sees a man holding his daughter, she remembers her father, and asks Kai if they can stop by just one more place. They go to the guild building which is on top of the dungeon. Kai asks Katsu if she is sure that she wants to go inside, and she says that her father must be somewhere under the building. She gets sad as she tells Kai that her father promised her that he would be back by dinner, but he never returned. And now she wonders why do people even go to dungeons. Katsu then comes back to the topic of their hangout and says that she had fun. She begins walking away, and Kai stays behind, aware that she is worried about him. However, he is determined to become a hero like Katsu's dad one day and prove himself to her. The next time Kai goes into the dungeon, he experiments by combining his different abilities. He coats his magic sword Baltzard with Water Ball, and though Luke is doubtful that it will work, it turns out to be a success, and using it, Kai is able to defeat a stone golem in one hit. He is delighted and Sil claps for him, telling Luke that their master is quickly growing stronger. Luke immediately responds that it must be because of a woman, and Kai is taken aback. He asks her what makes her think so, and she replies that it is just her intuition. Seeing him nervous because of his guilt, Sil asks him if the reason he wanted to join a party the other day was also because of a woman, and Kai doesn't know what to say. He ultimately confesses that a party of 3 girls invited him to their party, and Sil gets insecure on hearing this, but Luke thinks that he doesn't want to waste any more mana cores on them. She is about to attack him for treating them like this, but when Kai promises that he is not going to stop feeding them mana cores, Luke easily forgives him. Kai says that he is not joining the party, but Sil suddenly tells him to join it. She states that if her master has decided to join another party, she wants to support him, and even Luke agrees with Sil as long as she gets her mana cores. Sil then asks Kai to at least reveal the reason he wants to party with someone else. He replies that he wants to grow stronger by fighting alongside other humans, Otherwise, he will never catch up to Sil and Luke. The girls are satisfied by his reasons, and then Kai promises that he will only party with Aries' team on weekends, so they can still hang out on other days. At night, Kai finds that getting permission from an angel and a devil were easier than calling a girl. He picks up the call in panic, and Katsu says that she just wants to talk to him for a bit for no reason. Kai is happy to help, but before that, he asks her if she knows any ways to reduce nervousness. She asks for a reason, and Kai uses his friends as the scapegoats, saying that they want to call a girl but are too nervous about it. Katsu begins telling him the story of the time she was too nervous to play piano on the stage, and her dad forced a smile on her face manually. Kai says that he will try it out too, and then Katsu wishes him good night. She cuts the call, and Kai wonders what did she want to talk about in the first place. He doesn't give it much thought and calls Eri, who was practicing in her family dojo. She was waiting for his call and asks him if he thought about joining their party. Kai tells her that he can only join them on weekends, and Eri replies that they go to the dungeon on weekends only, so it is completely fine. The next Saturday, Kai joins the girls and enters the 7th floor of the dungeon again. A group of stone golems come to fight them, and Kai takes the lead, telling Hikari and Miku to support him. Hikari uses ground magic to restrain 2 golems, while Miku summons her servant Snatch to distract the 3rd one. Using this chance, Kai enchants his magic sword with Water Ball to create the Ice Sword, and defeats a golem with just 1 strike. Another golem attacks him just then, but he quickly dodges its attack and then finishes it off with 1 hit too. On the other hand, Miku's servant has defeated a golem with its wind blades, and Eri also defeats one. The girls are curious about when Kai learnt magic and why his water ball was shaped like a sword. He says that he knows just 1 water spell, and he had been experimenting lately. Eri says that his ice blade and way of commanding them earlier were impressive, and she can't believe that it is his first time fighting together with a group. To dodge any further questions, Kai remarks that Eri is also splendid with her weapon, and she replies that she has been practicing since childhood. Suddenly, Kai's stomach growls loudly, and he requests the girls to take a lunch break. To his surprise, they have an entire kitchen set up in their magic pouches, and they fry fish and grill steak right in the middle of the dungeon for lunch. Once Kai returns home at night, he thinks that Eri and her friends have generational wealth that he can never hope to reach. However, what is more important is that Eri has planned to explore the 8th floor the next day. The 8th floor has aquatic monsters and water-based terrain, so Kai purchases a high-end life jacket to help him clear it because he doesn't know how to swim. Soon, they come to the 8th floor, and Snatch detects a monster in a pool of water. A salamander comes out of the pool and spits acid at Kai, melting his expensive life jacket instantly. He cries and demands the monster to refund him the cost of the life jacket. But then it spits more acid at him, and he can only dodge. Just then, Miku shoots it down with the crossbow Kai lent her because he was not going to use it anymore. He asks if she has practiced before, but she replies that she just held a crossbow for the first time in her life but managed to get a headshot on her first try. Soon after that, they run into more water-themed monsters and keep on running most of the time. A squid monster flings Kai into a pond, and he flails because he can't swim. But Eri tells him to stop being a wimp because the water is not deep at all. In the time he deals with his embarrassment, Hikari has roasted the squid. Next, they face some flying tuna monsters that leap out of the water to attack them. Kai attacks them with his mana gun, while the girls also use their weapons to thin down the numbers of the fish monsters. Kai soon runs out of ammo, and he sees how effortlessly Eri is slashing down monsters with her long-handled blade. So he shapes his ice sword into a similar weapon, and begins taking down the fish monsters. But each slash takes away a decent chunk of his mana. The girls also notice him cutting down the monsters with ease, but just as Kai is done, he runs out of mana completely and collapses. When he wakes up, he finds himself in Eri's lap and gets up with a start. He apologizes for troubling her and assures her that he is fine. Surprisingly, his MP is full, and Eri reveals that she gave him a mana potion when he was unconscious earlier. Kai says that it must have been expensive, but she tells him not to mind it because they are party members. Eri then talks about his way of fighting earlier, and he replies that he based it on her fighting style. Before they can discuss about it, Snatch warns everyone about a very powerful monster. Everyone is on guard, and then a huge dinosaur monster comes out of the water. Kai panics as he says that dinosaurs are high-level monsters that are found only in deeper floors. Kai and the girls try to run away, but the dino follows them. Because of its immense weight, the floor crumbles and their exit is blocked. Realizing that they have no way out now, Kai Kai declares that they must fight together to survive. He tells Mikyu and Hikari to attack the dino from a distance and asks Eri to attack it while he tries to divert its attention. Hikari's earth magic and Snatch's wind blades are ineffective on the water dino, and even though Kai manages to stab it with his ice blade, the damage is too small to hold it back. Enraged, the dino attacks him, and Kai runs away, creating the perfect chance for Eri to deliver a finishing blow. She leaps on the dino's head and stabs it with her spear. But that is not enough. The monster swings his neck violently and flings her away. As Kai goes to check up on Eri, she mutters that she will become a hero, but as she tries to reach for her weapon, she passes out. As Kai supports her, he wonders if he should call out Syl and Luke, because it won't be the best idea to reveal them to others. However, as he sees the monster trying to attack Hikari and Mikyu, he realizes that it is not the time to hesitate. He pulls out the servant cards and summons his girls. A radiant storm of divine and demonic energy rages before Syl and Luke make their appearance, and everyone is in awe to watch it. Even Eri opens her eyes just in time to see Syl and Luke take form. Kai apologizes to them for calling them on such short notice and then asks them to beat the dino monster. They use their lightning and fire attacks at it, bringing down the dino monster within seconds. Once that is done, Syl runs towards Kai, inquiring if he is hurt somewhere. He replies that he is fine, and just then Luke comes ahead, saying that Kai was after women in the end. Suddenly, Mikyu leaps on Syl because she has never seen anyone as cute as her before. She asks Syl if she is a real angel, while Hikari thanks Luke for saving them, and she also fawns over the cute demon Loli. Luke tries to act cold as usual, but she cannot say no to Hikari's earnest gaze and agrees to let her get close to her. Even Eri is smitten by their cuteness, but she restrains herself and asks Kai if these girls are his servants, and he affirms. Later, they get out of the dungeon, and Hikari's parents come to pick her and Mikyu. Once they are alone, Kai recalls the moment Eri was desperately trying to get back to the fight even after being knocked out, and saying that she wants to be a hero. He asks if they can talk about it, and learns that it was her dad who inspired her to be a hero who stands up to great challenges and saves everyone. Kai thinks that he and Eri are the same. After that, she invites him to an open campus event at her university the next weekend. Kai talks about it to his friends because Eri goes to a very prestigious university. They tell her to invite Katsu instead of them because she is interested in that university too, and they can call it their second date. Kai panics on hearing that, but Katsu hears her name, so she brings her friend along and asks if they were talking about her behind her back. Kai tries to deny it, but his friends push him ahead, and he uses the nervousness removal technique before trying to tell Katsu about the open campus event. Turns out Katsu was already planning to go there, and she wanted Kai to be with her from the start. And the next weekend, she wears the dress Kai chose for her on their previous date to go to the open campus event. If you liked this video, you will definitely love the story about this F-ranked loser who turns out to be the strongest adventurer by killing monsters. Kai waits for Katsu outside her door as he mentally prepares himself for their unofficial date. She comes out of the door, looking as cute as ever. They head to the metro and the nervousness kicks in as he sits one seat away from her instead of sitting next to her. After a long silence, she decides to just tell him herself and motions for him to move closer to her while taunting him for sitting so far away. He gets up awkwardly and moves next to her, and his hormone-ridden brain starts wondering if he is desirable to her and if she actually likes him. But he soon stops building castles in the air and reminds himself that she is only here for the open campus event and that they aren't actually on a date. Her interest lies only in checking out the new academy where they are headed to. She sees him acting strangely and interrupts his thoughts by telling him how excited she is to see the new place. Just as she says it, two voices of boys sitting opposite them chime into the conversation and say that they too are excited to see the new academy. They finally reach the hallowed university and are awestruck by its elegance and beauty. The campus is huge, and its entrance and all of its buildings have been designed and built by the best architects. The gardens extend on all sides and add to the school's wondrous aura. They take a walk through the garden to reach the event's main meeting point, and Katsu points out how the trees would be filled with cherry blossoms during the next spring. Kai immediately starts daydreaming again and imagines how cute and beautiful it would be to be here with Katsu and watch her run down the path surrounded by cherry blossoms. He starts saying out his thoughts and Katsu pulls him out of his daydream. They make their way to the registration desk. When they reach the front of the line, Kai gets struck with a sudden shyness when he sees his explorer friend, Eri, seated there. She greets the two of them and Katsu is surprised when she finds out they already know each other. She asks if Katsu was his girlfriend, which makes her blush and stammer her words. The awkward situation finally ends, and after registration, the group leaves to explore the campus some more and see the facilities available. However, Eri notices that she felt relieved when he said that Katsu wasn't his girlfriend, and she worries that she may have started having feelings for Kai. Meanwhile, his friends start to question him about his relationship with Eri, and Katsu gets a bit upset when she hears they met during the dungeon explorations. She does not say anything against Eri, but tries to bring an end to the conversation by reminding him that he promised he would not talk or think about the dungeons today, since that's all he has been involved in the past few months. Shinji and Hayato notice the shift in the mood and drag him away to have a quick intervention with him. They know that he cares for both of the girls and are worried he will end up messing up everything if he does not behave with caution. The two of them are also jealous that he has so much happening in his life and start regretting their decision to stop going to the dungeons. The walk through the university continues, and the group is amazed by all the facilities available in this elite academy. On top of that, they appreciate how clean and well kept the entire campus is. Shinji and Hayato are already aware that they will never have enough grades to be able to attend such a prestigious university, and Kai also agrees that his grades are not up to the mark to make the cut, which means he might have to find a different academy and be away from his best friend. The thought of leaving Katsu and being all on his own scares him. So he makes up his mind to struggle and study as hard as possible now, so he can bring up his grades to the optimal level. Apart from grades, his friends remind him that the tuition fee is also very high. He is about to mention his income from the dungeons, but remembers his promise to Katsu and stops himself. He changes the words and says he will manage it by working part-time. The wind and the surrounding creates a calm and relaxing environment, and Kai closes his eyes for a bit to enjoy it. As soon as he opens his eyes, he is hit with another shock when he sees Miku and Hikari standing in front of him. Some more reminders of his work at the dungeon. He introduces his friends to them, and again Katsu notices that he seems awfully close to the two girls. She inquires how they know each other, and Kai is left tongue-tied since he does not want to break his promise by mentioning the dungeons again. But before he has a chance to respond, they answer for him, and Katsu smiles coldly since she hates how many friends he has made from his many dungeon adventures. Eri meets the group again, and she offers to take them out on a lunch treat to the school cafeteria. The food is exquisite, and due to it being served at a university, it was also reasonably priced. After thanking Eri for her generosity, the group digs in and clears out the plates in no time. At the end of the meal, Katsu gets up to get herself a drink, and Kai offers to go along with her. His friends keep the girls entertained with their impressions of him. They then tell them about their previous adventures in the dungeons before they quit, while the pair return with drinks for everyone. Katsu overheard the group's conversation and started to wonder why everyone is so obsessed with those dungeons. As they explore the pool and other areas of the school, Kai and Katsu share a cute moment as he fondly remembers all the times she had been there for him when they were kids. Eri leads them down a flight of stairs to show them the soccer fields. As they descend the stairs, Hikari feels weak and her foot slips, causing her to start falling down, but without a second's hesitation, Kai springs into action and scoops her up to save her from being hurt. The group is amazed by his insane reflexes and praise him, but Katsu seems a bit unhappy that he was holding another girl like that. Miku climbs up toward them and teasingly asks him to put down Hikari, but it just seemed like she too may have been a bit jealous. To her luck, just then a football came hurtling toward her and was just about to hit her in the head, when Kai jumped into action again, and in a crazy move, kicked the ball back to the field without even breaking a sweat. Miku is left in stunned silence, and this time it is Eri who seems flustered by all the attention the other girls were getting. The tour has technically come to an end, but Eri takes them to a training room. She pulls out her wooden sword and wonders to herself why she had brought all of them here since it isn't part of the tour. She still continues as planned and displays her advanced sword skills by moving across the room in swift, elegant motions. When she is done, she notices Kai cheering loudly for her and blushes. She understands now that it was his attention that made her bring them here. The group bids farewell to Eri, Miku, and Hikari after exchanging their numbers. On the way back home in the metro, all of them discuss the events of their day. Katsu comments on the amazing university and her plan to seek admission there, but Shinji and Hayato are more focused on discussing the girls they met today and who their type was. Katsu gets annoyed, and Kai decides not to participate in their conversation so as to not annoy her more. As they are walking home together under the streetlight, she decides to bring up the conversation again and asks Kai who he liked most from the girls they met. He avoids answering and tries to deflect the question, but she seems persistent. He is about to tell her that it is her that he likes, but saves that for another day. His decision to not answer her question annoys her more. and she passes a comment about how he seemed so close to all the girls since they were all calling each other by first names. It is only after he reaches his own home and relaxes in the bath that he realizes she might have been jealous. This also makes him think of his goddess and demon servants, Syl and Luke, whose jealousy he would also have to deal with soon enough. The next day, Kai returns to the dungeon and faces the slimes for the first time in a long while. He takes down some slimes using his trusty pesticide spray and collects their cores to tempt Syl and Luke, who are really angry at him for ignoring them yesterday. Kai tries to explain that he had to go on a school tour yesterday, and Luke doesn't even know what a school is. Syl understands his situation, but she is still upset that he didn't pay them any attention because of it. As Kai promises them more mana cores today, he suddenly notices something glowing behind a corner. He finds that it is a rare shiny slime again, and asks Syl and Luke to take it down. They are both angrily bargaining about how much mana cores should Kai give them, and he promises to give them 10 cores at a time so that they take action before the slime runs away. On hearing about 10 cores, Luke immediately turns around and blasts the slime with her fire attack, instantly defeating it. After that, Kai gives the girls their magic cores, and they finally forgive him. He then checks out the drop from the rare slime and finds a pair of gloves called Force Gloves that consume mana to launch an invisible force. Kai tries to find out what exactly the gloves do, but no one can see anything as he tries to release the force. He gets a better idea and releases it into the water and finally sees some results. The force is not good enough to be used as an attack, but Kai manages to combine it with his magic blade to split water. Just then, Eri and others also arrive there, and they immediately start discussing about the school tour yesterday. Kai tells Eri that he would like to join the college, but he needs to study extra hard for that. Eri offers to tutor him personally, and Kai asks if he can invite Katsu to join the lessons as well. The three girls are suddenly taken aback on hearing Katsu's name, and Mikyu and Hikari also decide to join the lessons. Syl and Luke are jealous that the three girls have gotten even closer to their master, and when Kai sees it, he offers some more mana cores to cheer them up. After that, they head into the 9th floor of the dungeon, and Syl quickly warns Kai that there is a very powerful monster deep inside. Eri and others believe that they should keep going in, and Kai finds out that they can't avoid the monster, no matter which route they take. Luke tells him that if things go south, she will handle everything herself, and Eri says that in the worst case, they can always retreat. Soon, they come across a monster with 2 heads and a snake for a tail. Even Luke is taken aback to see the strong monster called Orthros here, and Kai is shocked because the monster belongs to deeper floors of the dungeon. Since Luke is not sure if she can defeat it, Kai suggests that they retreat and Eri agrees. However, it is too late because the monster has already spotted them. It starts charging towards them, so Kai asks Syl to use her barrier. Eri and Mikyu pull out magic guns, while Hikari immobilizes the monster with her earth magic. On Kai's command, Luke hits the monster with her fire attack, but it is useless. The monster then attacks them with its fire breath, and even though Syl's barrier protects them from the fire, the heat is getting too much to bear. Luke uses a spell to weaken the monster, and then Mikyu attacks it with her pet, but it doesn't do much damage. Kai decides to distract the monster so that Luke can attack its weak spot. He manages to divert the monster's attention, and Luke hits it with a fire attack on its soft belly. They need more power, so Kai asks Syl and Luke to use their attacks together. Syl charges at it with her lightning spear, and Luke keeps blasting it with fire. The rest of the girls shoot it with their magic guns, but as the monster tries to hit them with his fire breath, Kai sends an invisible slash to stop it. He then shoots a water ball to block the second head from breathing fire. With that, everyone jumps the monster, and they keep dealing it continuous damage. At the end, Kai deals the finishing blow, and the monster vanishes. Everyone is overjoyed at their victory, but Mikyu and Hikari are too tired, so they decide to take a break. Kai rewards Syl and Luke with magic cores, but Luke is still concerned about the monster being found here. Suddenly, Syl senses a powerful presence, and someone starts walking towards them from the dark cave. He says that a mere dog could not do what he expected, and then he emerges out of the darkness, seeing his horns and pointed ears in enough to tell Kai that he is a demon. And Luke affirms to that. Everyone is worried to see a demon this close to the surface, and Luke says that he is going to be a tough opponent. The demon starts walking towards them, telling them that it is useless to run away, and he is going to kill them all here. He sends a dark lightning attack towards them, but Syl blocks it in time with her barrier. The demon is impressed, and he takes out his sword to attack. He is too fast for anyone to see, and Kai tells Syl to keep up her barrier. The rest of the group starts attacking the demon, but he takes 0 damage from their attacks. Luke suggests that Syl should attack because she has the type advantage, but Kai is worried because that would leave everyone defenseless. Eri tells him not to worry about them because she will manage somehow. Kai then orders his servant girls to attack the demon together, but they still don't manage to do any damage. The demon charges at Kai, and Eri manages to save him at the last moment. The demon blows her away with his dark powers, and then attacks Kai again. Kai uses the special ability of his blade to destroy the demon's blade, who gets angry and starts punching him. Despite using a shield of ice, Kai is hit away. The girls attack the demon and cover for him, giving him the chance to drink a potion and recover his energy. Miku comes to check up on him, and he tells her that he is fine. He has also come up with a plan, and he asks Miku to distract the demon. Using this chance, he stabs the demon from behind and rips his flesh apart. The demon falls to his knees because of the pain, but he heals himself and then punches Kai away. Miku and Hikari go to help him up, but the demon attacks them. Eri tries to protect them, but she is not fast enough, and the demon defeats all of them with one swift attack. He slaps away Miku's servant and then grabs Syl's spear, tossing her aside too. Kai is worried now, and Luke tells him to take everyone and run away while she faces the demon. She tries to fight against the demon using brute strength, but gets pushed back, while Kai tries to find a way to defeat the enemy and save everyone. The demon pushes Luke towards Kai, and he suddenly sees a skill she had been hiding. It requires sacrificing the summoner's HP to boost all the stats, and Kai asks Luke to use it. She tells him that she will have to continuously suck his HP to use that skill, and he might even die. He tells her that he trusts in her, and with that Luke uses her skill. Kai quickly loses his HP and Luke's strength grows, turning her into an adult. She tells Kai that she is not at her peak right now, but she is strong enough to make quick work of the demon. The demon asks her where did she come from, and Luke tells him to shut up because she has had enough of his arrogance. The demon attacks her with his dark attack, but it has no effect at all. He is starting to get nervous now, and asks Luke who the hell is she. She reveals that she is a demon viscount, and the demon craps his pants because she is much higher ranked than him. Luke then uses a powerful attack that can kill even gods, and the demon is instantly vaporized because of it. Kai is impressed by her strength, but he is at his limit, so he asks Luke to undo her skill and return to normal. She refuses to do so until he praises her adult form, and Kai loses consciousness while praising her. She only cancels her skill after Kai promises to treat her more kindly from now on, and he is relieved that he gets to live some more. Everyone relaxes after that, and Kai finds that he has leveled up. His HP has increased, and he has gained a new skill too that increases his tolerance to pain. The rest of the girls have also leveled up after fighting the demon, and they are glad that no one got seriously injured. Kai then goes to check up the loot. He finds a huge mana core from the monster, and then a servant card that the demon dropped. He asks Eri and others what should they do with the servant card, and they decide to let Kai keep it because he and Luke defeated the demon. Kai feels that he already has a demon, so the second one would be unnecessary, and Luke takes offense that he is comparing her to a low-level peasant demon. She tells him to sell the card immediately, but Kai thinks it will be a waste, so he decides to summon the demon. After a powerful dark storm, the demon knight Bel appears in the form of a boy and swears his loyalty to his new master. Kai is disappointed and says that he wishes he sold the card, shattering poor Bel's heart. Anyway, he decides to keep the demon as his servant, and the next day, he goes to sell the monster core at the guild. Hitsa is shocked to hear that they faced an Orthros on the 9th floor, and decides to send an investigation team there immediately. The monster core sells for 24 million yen, and while everyone thinks Kai should keep the entire amount, he insists that it should be split equally among them. Hitsa agrees to his request, and tells Kai that even after splitting the reward, he has enough money now that he has to pay taxes on that, leaving him baffled. Soon after that, Kai goes to the dungeon and asks Bel to show his abilities. Bel nervously asks for a weapon, because he is a knight and fighting with swords is his thing. Kai asks him if he doesn't come with a sword, and Luke reminds him that he broke it earlier. Kai searches his bag and decides to give Bel his old tungsten staff, but he wants a sword. Syl and Luke tell him that he is being ungrateful, so Bel accepts the staff as his weapon. Soon, he shows his skill by beating goblins in close combat, and Kai realizes that Bel is stronger than him. Even Eri is impressed, but Luke tells Bel that he has gotten slower compared to before. He nervously says that it is because his level has been reset to 1, and then suddenly starts tearing up as he asks Kai to let him stay by his side and serve him. He says that he wants to serve Princess Syl and Princess Luke too, shocking them both. He knows that he is weak right now, but he swears to protect them and grow stronger. Kai tells him that despite being weaker than before, he is strong enough to be of help, and says that they will be counting on him. After that, Kai decides to check Belle's skill Dark Cure. And for that, he tires himself out by fighting goblins and doing some intense workout. Belle casts Dark Cure on him, but Kai's HP increases only by a tiny bit. Belle explains that his skill is effective against injuries, and normally, it will restore only enough health to keep the target from dying. Kai is disappointed because he was thinking to use Belle's Dark Cure and Luke's Devouring skill together, so that his HP can last a long time. Luke says they can try it right now, but Kai panics, telling her that he only has a little bit of HP left, and he can't sacrifice any of it. Luke keeps pushing him, and as Kai walks away, he suddenly trips on a rock and injures his hand. Belle tells him that this is the chance to use Dark Cure, and heals his injury in no time. Kai says that he is amazing, and now he can save a fortune by not buying healing potions. After that, they face a golem monster, and Eri and others decide to show off their new skills too. Hikari uses ice magic to trap the golem in ice, and then Eri uses her new skill that allows her to slash through the ice and the golem with just one strike. Kai says they are both amazing, and Eri replies that her skill is strong, but it consumes a lot of mana, so she can't use it freely. Soon after that, they come face to face with some stone golems, and it is Miku's chance to show her progress. She first uses an illusion skill to send flower petals towards the golems to distract them, and then commands her servant Snatch to attack. Snatch suddenly turns into a hedgehog and shoots a flurry of needles at the golems, defeating all of them quickly. After that, Syl spots some more monsters coming towards them, and Kai tells her to use her new skill. She suddenly starts singing, and a giant angelic version of her is created as a result. The giant angel covers Kai and his group, and then vanishes. Kai feels his power increasing, and the movement of the attacking monsters seem really slow to him. He quickly attacks a monster and takes it down with ease, and Belle also defeats another monster effortlessly. Luke uses her fire attack on the last remaining monster, and she also feels her spell getting more powerful. She tells Kai that even though it was not as powerful as her devouring skill, she could clearly feel her levels rising because of Syl's song. Kai is glad to hear that the skill works on other servants too, and he turns to Belle and asks him for feedback. Belle says that he couldn't feel any difference, and Miku thinks that the effect of the skill depends on the amount of trust they have among each other. Belle gets upset on hearing that, but Eri and others comfort him, telling him that he can take his time building up trust with others. Belle gets emotional and promises that he will do his best, and says that if he gets a sword, he will perform even well. Kai seriously begins thinking about buying him a sword now, and he immediately rushes to the shop in the dungeon and buys one. He presents it to Belle, who is so moved that he starts crying. Kai asks if he hates the sword, and he replies that he really likes it, and got emotional because it is the first sword his master has given him. He receives the sword and decides to show everyone what he can do with a real weapon. He faces 3 monsters on his own, and charges ahead, defeating all of them with ease. Everyone is amazed, and as Belle gives the mana cores to Kai, he says that he was really amazed by his sword skills. He wants Belle to teach him how to use a sword as well, and the Demon Knight is willing to start their lessons right away. Kai gets cold feet on hearing that, and he says that he has to return home early today. Syl and Luke cling to him and ask him the reason for that, and Eri explains that they are going to have a study session at her home tomorrow morning. Both Syl and Luke are jealous now, and Kai apologizes to them, before turning to Belle and saying that they will start from Sunday. The next morning, Kai, Katsu, Shinji, and Hayato go to Eri's home to study, but they are left speechless as they see the fancy traditional gate of her huge mansion. Just then, Miku and Hikari come there in a limo and open the gate. Kai and his friends are shocked when the gate opens to reveal a forest, and they wonder where is the house. Suddenly, the 3 girls are in a minivan that will take them to the house, while the boys are told to walk there. The girls soon reach the house, and Katsu compliments Eri on the natural environment around her. Eri reveals that her house has been a martial arts dojo for ages, and it is built to let anyone who stays here find physical, mental, and spiritual balance. Just then, Kai, Shinji, and Hayato arrive there, completely exhausted from the long journey, and Eri says that they should start the study session now. Anyway, she takes them to the dojo that has been turned into a living room. The girls take their seats, and the boys hurry to get a seat next to them. Kai is the last one left, and he fails to secure the seat next to Katsu. He ends up sitting next to Eri, much to Katsu's disappointment. They begin studying with that, but Shinji and Hayato use this chance to hit on Miku and Hikari, telling them to ask them if they need any help. Hikari thanks them but says that she will stick to asking Katsu if she needs any help. Kai tells her that she is in good hands with Katsu because she is smart, kind and knows how to care for other people. His friends start teasing him by mimicking his voice and saying that Katsu is cute too, and Kai knows her the best. He gets flustered by this and says that he wasn't planning to say this, but this makes Eri and other girls jealous, and now they can't focus on studying. Eri says they should hit the waterfall to clear their mind, and everyone agrees. Shinji and Hayato also volunteer to join them, and Kai also goes with them because of his FOMO. However, the boys immediately realize their mistake as they approach the chilly water of the waterfall. Eri and other girls are not even fazed, and they stand under the waterfall for a long time to clear their mind. Once they come out, Kai asks Katsu if she is fine, but then his gaze gets stuck on how pretty she looks while dripping wet. After that, it is time for the boys to go to a separate waterfall to meditate, which is much stronger and violent than the one girls went to. They immediately regret their decisions, and by nightfall, they have forgotten everything they studied in the class because of the waterfall's impact. The girls, on the other hand, seem to be quite happy, and they have gotten closer to Katsu. The next day, as Sil and Luke learn that Kai did not study yesterday and instead spent most of his time under a waterfall, they accuse him of having fun by himself. Kai wants to tell them that it was not fun at all, but Hikari says otherwise, making Sil and Luke even more jealous. After that, they start marching ahead into the dungeon with the aim to clear the 10th floor. But Mikyu asks Hikari to not push herself. Hikari has been feeling unwell since some time now, but she says that she is having fun right now, so she doesn't want to stop. Suddenly, Sil senses some monsters nearby, and they soon appear before the group. Kai asks her to sing the song to buff everyone's stats. As Sil begins singing, the entire group gets a power boost, and Hikari uses her ice magic to trap the monsters. Kai orders Bell to defeat the lizardmen, while he and Eri beat one orc each. Soon after that, they face two more orcs, and Mikyu confuses them using her pedal dance, giving Snatch and Eri the chance to finish them off. Everyone is amazed at Sil's new skill, but Luke is not happy that she did not get to do anything today. Kai tries to cheer her up with some monochores, but she keeps sulking. Hikari is happy to see everyone so cheerful, and she wishes these happy days to last forever. Soon, they reach the 10th floor of the dungeon, and Hikari says that they should keep marching ahead. She is all fired up and walks ahead of everyone, when suddenly, she feels a sharp pain in her chest and falls to the ground coughing blood. Everyone is worried about her, and Mikyu runs to her side to find her unconscious. They immediately take her to the hospital, where Mikyu holds Hikari's hand, even as Eri tells her that their friend is not in any serious danger. The doctor told them that she just needs some rest, and she has been sedated as well, so she is not going to wake up today. Despite that, Mikyu says that she is going to stay by her side. Kai also says that they have high-quality potions, so Hikari will be fine, but Mikyu gets angry at him, saying that the potions can only heal injuries and wounds. But Hikari is ill. Eri and Kai ask her if she knows anything about Hikari's sickness, but before she can reply, Hikari's parents come there. They thank Mikyu and others for being such good friends to their daughter, and say that she became much more cheerful after meeting them. Hearing this fills Mikyu with guilt that she could not help her friend, and she runs away. Kai and Eri follow her and find her sulking on the rooftop. She tells them about how she met Hikari 2 years ago. That time, she was a top player of Yu-Gi-Oh! Or something like that, and no one could defeat her. Even the former champion of the game tried to challenge her again and again, but only got humiliated in front of everyone. Since he couldn't win, he started insulting Mikyu by calling her a whale who only wins because she has rare cards after dumping thousands of dollars on premium decks. Mikyu told him that it is not the cards that make her a good player, but the proper strategy that morons like him will never learn. She was confident that she could beat anyone with ease, and then, the timid Hikari came to challenge her. Hikari seemed like a novice, but Mikyu accepted her challenge and was shocked that she had the same deck as hers. Mikyu knew that Hikari had to be filthy rich to afford all these cards, but what shocked her more was that the deck was completely identical despite their playing styles being completely different. In the end, Mikyu won, and then told Hikari that she should select cards that fit her style. Hikari told her that she is a big fan, and that is why she wanted to copy her. Mikyu was instantly smitten, and she told Hikari that she would build a custom deck for her. As they built a deck together, they became best friends. They had fun together, and soon, they decided to register as a team in the National Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament. They steamrolled through the competition and became champions. But just as Hikari held the cup, she fainted. She was rushed to the IQ, and on the way, she apologized to Mikyu for hiding something from her. She was taken inside before she could reveal anything, and just then, her parents came there, who who told Mikyu about the disease she had. After the story is over, Kai asks Mikyu about the disease, but Eri stops him because it is a sensitive topic. However, Hikari's dad comes there and decides to tell them the truth. Hikari is suffering from an incurable disease that makes her organs worse gradually, and the doctors had told them that if she collapses again, her survival chances are low. Eri says that she never saw any signs of Hikari being ill, and Mikyu says that it was because her medicines suppressed her illness. Also, since she had high stats in the dungeon, she always felt better there. Hikari's dad is shocked to hear about her going to the dungeon, and he finally realizes that when she told them that she was going to the park with her friends on the weekend, she was going to the dungeon. Mikyu apologizes for lying, but he replies that if that is what Hikari wanted, he is fine with that. Kai asks the important question that why was Hikari exploring the dungeon when she is not healthy. Mikyu timidly tells them that she had read some online articles about a very rare drop item called elixir in the dungeon that is said to cure any illness. She had heard that it sells for millions of dollars in the black markets. As she was reading the article, Hikari popped up next to her and asked if she is going to the dungeon to get her hands on the elixir. Mikyu tried to lie, but Hikari could read her like a book. She smiled and told her that she will come with her too, but Mikyu told her that she could not. She warned her that dungeons are dangerous, and they don't even know anything about them. Hikari replied that she will come along because it will be less dangerous with the two of them, and the elixir will ultimately be used on her. Things started getting heated up as they quarreled, so Mikyu suggested they go outside to cool their heads. Hikari then told Mikyu that if they find the elixir, it will help the scientists research cures for every disease in the world. She said that doing so is a big responsibility, and she can't let her friend take that alone. In the end, Mikyu could not refuse her, and they decided to enter the dungeon together. Hikari hugged and thanked her, and then declared that once she gets the elixir, she will become a hero for every sick person in the world. Everyone is surprised to hear the entire story, and Mikyu gets gloomy as she says that despite being sick, Hikari always thought of others first. That is why she could not leave her behind. She apologizes to Hikari's dad once again, but he just thanks her in return. He says that she did his daughter a great favor by going to the dungeon with her, and Mikyu is moved to tears. She replies that she is doing just what she can, and Kai feels like he has heard those words before. Mikyu declares that she is going to be Hikari's hero, and then turns to her friends to apologize for keeping Hikari's condition a secret from them. Eri says she understands her situation, and then volunteers to join them in the quest to find elixir. Mikyu gets a little disappointed because they are not even sure if it exists, but Eri says that they just need to have faith that it is real. Seeing them get emotional, Kai reminds them that he is also here. He says that he always thought that elixir was just an imaginary thing, like my girlfriend, but now that he has heard about Mikyu's motivation, he wants to prove himself wrong and find it. Eri says that they should head deeper tomorrow because the monster that drops the elixir should be on the bottom levels. The next day, they head into the 10th floor of the dungeon and face some camel monsters. Kai immediately tells Sil to sing the song that boosts everyone's abilities. He then orders Mikyu to go left and Eri to go right, while he decides to face the monster in the middle. However, Belle steps ahead and requests him to let him fight instead. Even Luke wants to contribute, and she gets upset when Kai tells her to stand on backup. Soon, the camels reach close enough, and Kai tells everyone to scatter. Mikyu uses her pedal dance to confuse the camel, and then her servant Snatch shoots it down with its sharp needles. Eri also charges her new skill and takes down a camel in one strike. On the other hand, Belle also runs towards a camel monster and defeats it with ease. He then presents the Monocore to Kai, saying that the elixir didn't drop. Kai replies that the ultimate medicine that cures every disease won't drop so easily, and they will have to defeat many monsters to get to that. Sil and Luke are also worried about Hikari now, because they couldn't even tell that she had a life-threatening condition. After that, Mikyu starts drinking water as she complains that this desert floor is too hot. Kai agrees and then turns to his servants, asking them if they are not feeling the heat. Both Sil and Luke tell him that this much heat is nothing, because they have endured much harsher things. Belle gets jealous that Kai only asked the girls and not him. However, he suddenly senses something coming and asks Kai to move aside. He asks him what is happening, and Sil gives the next warning, telling him that there is something under his feet. Suddenly, a sandworm springs out of the ground and coils around Kai. Everyone is shocked, and Mikyu is grossed out because she can't handle worms. Luke says it is her turn to shine, and she is about to hit the sandworm with her powerful fire attack. But Sil stops her, telling her that using the fire attack will harm their master too. Mikyu steps in and uses her pedal dance to confuse the monster, which leaves Kai alone. Luke thinks that it is finally her turn, but Belle gets the jump on her. He attacks the monster and slashes it for attacking Kai. He then declares that no one can harm his master, and Luke is not happy that he stole her chance. She scolds him and declares that she will send him back to hell, but Kai stops them and then praises Belle. Later, they visit Hikari in the hospital and tell her everything about their adventures. She says that she also wants to see Kai rolled like a burrito by a sandworm, and he assures her that it was not worth watching. She says that she wanted to see Luke's pouting face too, and her friends affirm that Luke indeed looked really cute. Hikari says that she can't wait to get discharged so that she can go to the dungeon and help them out. Mikyu just smiles and nods in response. However, once they are outside, she starts bawling her eyes out as she asks how can Hikari smile like that in her condition. She knows that Hikari is well aware of how bad her health is, and soon, her parents come to pick her up. Eri also gets in the car with her, and then tells Kai that she wants to be a hero who can protect everyone close to her. He says that Hikari is her dear friend, and she will do all she can to protect her. Kai thinks that he has heard that somewhere, and later, he keeps on trying to remember it. Just then, he gets a call from Katsu, who asks how is Hikari's condition. He doesn't want to worry her by telling the truth, but then he suddenly remembers an incident from their childhood, where Katsu was crying because her dad lied to her. She told her that he had promised not to go to the dungeon again, and he replied that someone had to go down there and discover the mysteries, because that will help others in the end. He said that he wanted to be that person, and that is why he is doing all he can to be a hero. Upon recalling those words, Kai tells Katsu that he will call her later, and then heads back to the dungeon. Luke asks him why did he return, and Syl warns him that there is another monster under their feet. However, as the ground suddenly sinks, they realize that it is not a measly sandworm. A giant sand crab comes out, and Kai decides to fight it, because he is going to do whatever he can to help his friends and become a hero. Later that day, Kai returns home quite exhausted, and Katsu sees him from her window. She is worried about him and wonders what she can do to help. After reaching home, Kai takes a bath, and his mom asks him from outside if he is so busy with his job that he has to come home this late. She tells him to work in moderation and pay more attention to school, and he just says that he will. The next day, Kai reaches the classroom when half of the first period has already passed. He apologizes to the teacher for oversleeping, and she scolds him because it is becoming his habit. Kai sneaks inside, making Katsu even more worried about him. In the lunch break, Kai peacefully sleeps while his two friends ask Katsu if she wants to visit Hikari in the hospital with them. She tells them that she won't be able to make it and asks them to convey her best wishes to Hikari. After school, Kai is still sleepy, but he heads towards the dungeon instead of going to see Hikari with his friends. Shinji and Hayato ask him if he is not coming along, and he tells them that he has to find the elixir. As Kai goes his way, they wonder if they should support him, but then think that weaklings like them will only get in his way. Shinji and Hayato reach Hikari's room and try to entertain her by playing card games, but she is a pro and easily beats them. She is proud of her victory and says that Mikyu trained her well. They challenge her to a video game contest the next time, but Hikari says that she is one of the top-ranked players in almost all major games as well. Suddenly, she starts coughing, and the boys decide that they should let her rest now. Hikari thanks them for coming and asks them to thank Katsu for sending a get-well-soon basket. Shinji and Hayato tell her that Katsu is very worried about her, but Hikari complains that she has never come to visit her personally. The boys try to come up with excuses as to why Katsu is not coming, but Hikari had an idea already, and she asks if Katsu is somehow related to the captain, the famous dungeon explorer of their town. Shinji and Hayato are shocked and wonder if this is what they call a woman's intuition. But Hikari tells them that she reads a lot of books and found that the captain looked quite similar to Katsu. The boys decide to reveal that Katsu is actually Captain's daughter, and finally everything makes sense to Hikari. Katsu's dad was a hero who was the first person to reach the 41st floor of the dungeon before he vanished. That is why the dungeon brings some terrible memories for Katsu, and she avoids coming here. Hikari is worried about Katsu now, but Shinji and Hayato tell her not to stress herself about it. She replies that since the captain is missing, there is a chance that he might still be alive. She declares that once she gets healthy, she will explore the dungeon even further than the 41st floor and rescue him, which will make Katsu's fear of the dungeon vanish. Meanwhile, Kai and his group are fighting against a winged lion with a raging flame in place of its hair. As always, they start with Syl singing her song that buffs their stats. The lion breathes fire at them, but Belle easily slashes it away. Next, Luke shoots her fire attack at the lion, but it doesn't do much damage. The monster begins charging towards Syl, but Mikyu confuses it using her pedal dance. Using this chance, Eri deals a powerful slash to the monster, while Mikyu and her servant shoot it with bullets and needles. Meanwhile, Kai slides under the monster's belly and stabs it with his magic sword, defeating it. As the monster vanishes, everyone levels up. Syl and Belle congratulate Kai, But Luke complains that only the humans leveled up and it is time for her and the other servants to level up too. After that, Sil points towards the mana core that the monster dropped, and Kai is a bit disappointed because he was hoping for something better. Anyway, he picks it up and decides to head deeper into the dungeon in search of the elixir. However, his girls remind him that they need food now, and Kai quickly feeds them some mana cores that they relish. After that, they head back to the association, where the receptionist Hitsa tells Kai and his group that they are making good progress lately. Today, they earned 4.5 million Japanese yen, and she is about to divide it into 3. When Kai asks her to divide it into 4 parts, he says that Hikari is still a part of their team, so she should get her share. As they go outside, the girls are worried about Kai, because he has been going to the dungeon every day even without them, and he looks like he could use some sleep. He tells them that he is fine, and heads towards the railway station. Once he reaches home, Kai sees an anime about dungeon explorers who say that the deeper they go inside the dungeon, the better the drops are. Kai thinks that the chances of getting elixir will increase on the lower floors, so he begins to study the type of monsters found on the 12th floor. The next day, he falls asleep in the class again, and as soon as school ends, he runs away to the dungeon. However, his friends stop him and ask him to take a day off. Katsu also asks him to rest for just one day, but Kai tells them that he needs to go. Katsu says that she knows he is doing this for Hikari's sake, but he needs to care for himself too. For a moment, Kai feels like he is the protagonist of a romance anime, but then he shakes that feeling aside and runs to the dungeon anyway. Inside the dungeon, he decides to head to the 12th floor with just his servants, because Eri and Mikyu are not free on weekdays. Belle asks him if he is sure that he can do it all alone, and Kai admits that he is a bit anxious about going deeper into the dungeon by himself. He says that they should still take a short trip inside to scout the area, but as soon as he starts to walk, he trips on thin air and falls. His servants are worried about him, and Sil remarks that he looks really tired. Kai gets up, saying she is mistaken, but even Luke agrees with her. Belle suggests Kai to take a break and rest today, and Luke says the same. Kai tells them that he is fine, and promises that they will take a quick look and retire early today. They climb down the stairs, and the girls start complaining that it is getting too cold. Kai tells them that the 12th floor is covered in ice, and they soon reach there. It is freezing cold, especially for Luke, and Kai thinks that he should have prepared some more before coming here. He still decides to take a further look, and Sil tells him that she doesn't sense any monsters, but he should still be careful. They walk inside and Kai almost slips. Sil suggests to melt the entire floor with her fire attack, but Kai asks her to drop the idea. They don't find even a single monster even after some time, so Kai decides that they should retreat. However, Sil suddenly senses an unnatural presence, and then suddenly, some rabid bats fly out of the cave in front of them. Sil says that the real danger is coming now, and everyone gets ready to fight. The ground starts rumbling as a horde of boar monsters charge ahead. Their numbers are too great, and Kai realizes they cannot fight against them. Sil uses her barrier to keep everyone safe, and Kai picks her up as he runs outside. However, the boars are faster than them and easily catch up. Seeing no way to escape, Kai decides to fight. He asks Sil to sing her song to boost their stats. Luke then fires a powerful attack at the monsters, and even though she manages to defeat some of them, it doesn't stop their stampede. Kai, Luke, and Belle rush ahead, fighting the monsters head-on. Sil also decides to join the fight with her lightning attack, while the others are defeating monsters. Soon, Sil and Luke level up, and as Kai is celebrating the achievement, one boar monster charges towards him. He slips in the process of taking his stance, and the boar hits him. He gets run over by the horde of monsters and his HP drops rapidly. Belle rushes to his side, defeating all the monsters in his way and brings him to the side. Luke and Sil tells Belle to take Kai and run away to safety, while they stay behind and use the new skills they got after leveling up to defeat the monsters. Sil gathers all the mana cores on the ground and gobbles them up along with Luke. After that, they begin to charge their new skills and create a mature version of themselves before shooting their lightning and fire attacks. Their attacks hit the boars and defeat them quickly. While Belle notices that Kai has lost consciousness, he brings him to a safe spot and begins casting Dark Cure's spell on him. But it doesn't do anything, and he runs out of mana. Sil and Luke arrive there just then, and Luke gets on top of Kai. She starts slapping him while asking him to wake up, and accidentally spills the contents of his bag. Sil spots a healing potion and tries to feed it to Kai, but he can't drink it, so she goes with the good old mouth-to-mouth transfer. She feeds the medicine to Kai with a kiss, but that makes Luke jealous, and she opens another bottle as an excuse to kiss Kai. The two girls take turns on the unconscious Kai, and Belle is about to join them when they tell him that he is not needed. Soon, Kai wakes up and thanks his servants for saving him, before immediately passing out again. Later, he somehow manages to reach outside the dungeon and get medical aid. Eri and Miko also rush to the room to check on him, and Hitze informs that Kai got caught in a monster stampede. The doctor finishes examining him and says that there is no injury because of the potions, but Kai is deeply traumatized by the fear he felt during the stampede. As they go outside, the girls offer to walk him home, but he is lost in his own thoughts. As he snaps out of them, he apologizes to them and begins hurrying towards the station, thinking that he is a coward after all. If you liked this video, you will definitely love the story about this F-ranked loser who turns out to be the strongest adventurer by killing monsters.